Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another episode of this Piscean Reports. Welcome to a late edition of this Piscean Reports. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you guys had a fantastic day. You're relaxing. It's a beautiful evening. For those of you guys who are new to my channel, welcome aboard. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. Okay, welcome back. All right, so once again, I have to give a shout out to this man. He is amazing, Marshall Vian Summers. He wrote the book Greater Community Spirituality, and I love it. I love it. I love it. His insight is amazing to me. It's incredible. It's so on point. I love it. And as usual, once again, I was reading and I came across this as I'm reading, and I came across the snippet of once again of something he said. And as I read it, I started to kind of sit there and meditate on those words, like really meditate on them, And I said, you know what, that is so true. That is so true and so profound, because I started thinking about that. I started to really think about the message that snippet, just that little snippet, and it just, you know, mm. Anyway, so I wanted to give it to you guys as well, and I wanted to kind of touch on it and these, and give you the insight that spirit that was given to me. I just wanted to share it with you guys. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay. These snippets said, you don't live for today. You guys, I want you guys to know this. You don't live for today. And you don't live for this generation, And he said, you live for future generations. And I thought about that, and I was like, that's facts. Like, that is absolute facts. I told you guys that we've come here for a reason. We are here for purpose sake. We're here. We all have missions. We all have these things that we came here to do. And I thought about that statement, that we don't live for today. We don't live for today, and we don't even live for this generation. We are here. Everything that we do today, every seed that we plant today is for them in the future. Okay. And I started thinking about that. And so I wrote down these examples of what that means, and proof that is a very true statement. That's facts all day long. Okay. And I started thinking about the examples. I started thinking about the inventions, the ideas that people had generations ago, and how they literally affect us today. What they thought of, what they created, what they brought into the world literally has made generations, our world better, And so I wrote down the examples. I did inventions and I did social change. And we're going to start with the inventions. And I said, when you think about this, okay, like I did planes, trains, and automobiles, basically. But I started with trains first. And I said, okay, so I was wondering who made the first train, And so as I looked it up, and it said that Richard Richard Trevithick, I believe. He was a British engineer, and he had built the first high pressure steam engine, right? And it was George Stephenson. It's like Richard built the steam engine, right? But it was George Stephenson who is known as the father of the railway line, and because he was the one who created that whole locomotives, or the railway line for locomotives. So it was like Richard did the pressure steam engine, and then George came in and he invented the railway system. Okay. It says he's the father of the railway system, and he started the the railway line to use locomotives. He started the Liverpool Manchester railway system. For those of you in England, I know you're like, hey, England, right? You guys had, and that's that perfect example. Had they not been born, had they not been here, we would not have the trains that we have today. You know, we wouldn't have the railway systems. We wouldn't have, and because of their brilliant mind, because of what they brought into the world, other generations were then able to come in and expand on what he did. And now here we are today, and we've got these insane, you know, railway systems and all of that. So that is a perfect example of something somebody did back in the day. They created what they created then affected us today, generations, you know. Excellent example. I said, I want to know about cars. And I said, okay, so who made the first car? And I found this a little interesting because I didn't know. Carl Benz of, like, you know, Mercedes Benz, that type of thing. Well, Carl Benz, he was responsible for creating the first true automobile. Okay, it had 3 wheels, but technically he is the one who is responsible. So it's just amazing that, you know, Mercedes Benz, you know, the Benz family are the actual ones. You know, when you think cars, everybody immediately thinks Henry Ford, but it was actually Carl Benz who created the actual automobile, you know, the first one. Even though it was 3 wheels, it technically was the first one. Now, Henry Ford then came in, and he's responsible for revolutionizing and manufacturing the assembly line. You know, he made the Model T, and the Model T, because of Carl Benz's creation and people wanting to expand on what Carl did, Henry Ford ended up creating the Model T. He said, that's an excellent idea, but I want to make something that everybody can have, and that he's the one who was responsible for making that Model T, which was the first car that everybody could afford. You know, once again, had they not come in with these brilliant ideas, you know what I'm saying? And real quick, Henry Ford was also the one, amazingly enough, who was responsible for the $5 work day. He was the one who's responsible for the work day, okay? And he was the one who's responsible for 40-hour work weeks. And I was like, that's fascinating. That's very interesting. So once again, here's these people. Had they not been in the world, their idea, their design in the initial, and once again, something that they did that they thought would be really cool for the day was that thing. They needed to come here to create something that affects generations today. Because of their brilliance, we now ride, you know, we're riding around, you know, in trains, we're driving cars, you know, we can get from A to B. We don't have to do horses anymore, the whole horse and buggy situation. So once again, you see what I'm saying? What we do today, everything that we're going to do today is let me do the one more thing, and then I'm gonna jump into that because I'm getting ahead of myself real quick. Now, planes. And I said, okay, what's going on? We all know that the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, they're the ones who are responsible for the first successful powered, heavier than air, man-powered aircraft. We've all seen the cute little, I don't know, well, you guys probably haven't, but I grew up, you know, seeing those black and white stills of people trying to create these raggedy airplanes, and they would fall apart and the whole nine. And so, but they're trying. They said, we want to try this. How great would it be if man could fly? Do you see it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. You are here today, not for you. You're not here for you. You're not here for this generation. You are here for the future. This is why I tell you guys, you matter. We matter. Everything that we're doing today has nothing to do with us. We are here to affect the generations that come after us, our children, our grandchildren, you know, and their children, etc., etc. You know what I'm saying? So when you really think about that, your purpose here is so great. and so important, and you think you're not, and it doesn't matter. Like I said, it don't matter how tiny it is. You're here. You're here to do something great. Okay. Or something purposeful, something important, something, and understand and make sure. And I'm going to touch on the social aspect of this because it gets a little heavy. It can. I said I'm going to start light, and then we're going to click over to social change, okay? And how generations before us, the things that they did socially, how it affects us and our mindset and how we think and act and be today. You know, it blows my mind. It blew my mind. So as I sat here and I said, okay, when you think about social change, I put down social changes, positive and negative. You know, examples of social change, you know, I thought about the women's rights movement and the rights to vote. You know, the things that the women did back then. Protests in general. Protests have a way of changing the world. You know, like I said, or not necessarily, well, technically the world too, but generational. I want to start there. Generational. The things that we do and we don't think have any profound impact absolutely do. Okay, because I thought in those terms that's pretty profound, you know, because of their protesting and their, you know, determination. Women now have the right to vote. We have a voice. We have a say in what takes place, at least in America, you know, and you know, and certain parts, and obviously in other parts of the world, you know. Yes. Okay, so there's that aspect of it. And I wrote down examples of how social change can affect us and generations after in a negative way. And this is where it's going to get a little deep, and I need you guys to stay with me. Okay? Because sometimes there's some things that you kind of don't want to hear, but I'm not here to tell you all of the sweet things and all of the cute things. I'm here to let you know that what you do, even when you think you're not doing nothing at all, you think that you're just, you know, doing whatever. And it had such a profound impact on the generations that came afterwards. And I was thinking about the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, the protests that went on in the 50s and the 60s, you know, civil rights movements and things like that. And I want to say this. And it's heavy. It's heavy on a lot of levels. It's heavy on a lot of levels. Those protests, you when you see those videos of, you know, the police back then, you know, they were pretty rough. They were pretty hands-on. They were hands-on back then. It was a different time. It was a different day. Okay. So I understand that, you know, those in the 60s and in the 70s, the impacts of protesting and battling with authority. And, you know, authority, the police authority. Okay. And how it impacted us in a very profound way. Okay. I think about how in the 60s, because of the protests, it got to the point where, you know, those in the 60s would refer to the police as pigs, you know, and kind of sort of, I would even say it goes back a little further. I'm thinking about in the bootlegging days. I saw a movie and this dude called this dude it was negative, but he said blank blank pig. But anyways, and even in the 60s, they referred to the police as the pig, you know, the man, the pigs, you know, and that's very negative. That's ugly. That's so ugly. And then you think about and that was in the 60s and the 70s. And then I started thinking about the 80s, you know, the time in America, in Los Angeles, and the Rodney King situation, you know, and so the police were beating and the whole nine, and you know, that had a very profound impact on how a lot of people, again, once again, saw the police. Was it ugly? Yes. Was it negative? Yes, absolutely. And you know, and I thought about the song F the Police. And I thought to myself, you think you're just making a song, F the police. And I thought to myself, I said that statement in and of itself had such a profound impact on the Black community, to the point where, and I won't say all of the Black community, because I'm not that. I'm not. My interaction with the police has never been negative, and so that's just me. And in fairness, a lot of Black Americans have no problem with authority, none. But a big majority, and we all know this. It's not like you can say that's not true, because uh, it's a guy on the internet. There's several people on the internet right now who could pull up any number of videos where you see somebody Black, and as soon as they see the police, they either take off running, or they fight them, or they jumping them, and they're screaming at them, and their level of hatred for them is so profound. And I thought to myself, I said, you see what I'm saying? A seed was planted a long time ago. F the police. And one hand I was like, I understand. I'm not a fool, right? I saw it. We all saw, and we get it. I get that aspect of it. But at the same time, doing something, the whole point of this is that doing something so simple, F the police, to the Black community, to where I've seen children online saying F the police. And I remember seeing a child, a small child. This policeman was in the neighborhood. This is past Rodney King. We're here and today. And here's this child. And so this police officer comes up, and he's trying to create a different narrative to the Black community, and I saw this little Black boy, kicked the police officer. He went over and he kicked him, and I F you, and I effing hate you, and and it blew my mind. Do you see what I'm saying? What we do. This is a perfect example of how planting even the tiniest seed in a mind, a child's mind, and in the mind of a community, creating a narrative, can have such a profound impact that it would affect generations later. Something that happened in the 80s that would affect the generation. And I'm not saying that there aren't, I'm not saying that doesn't exist even today. We all know, however, I will say this, that because of the negativeness, because of the profound impact that the Black community has, there is something that was born out of that, because now we have the camera, which is perfect. Okay, because no one can now sit up and say, I didn't know and I didn't see. It's all right there. This evens the playing field for everybody. The police now have to be on their best behavior as a result, and those who interact with authority as well. Because I want to say, what we do right now, what we do today, absolutely is going to affect generations to come. So I think, because we now have this even playing field, this is just my opinion, it's just my opinion. We now have an even playing field. We've got cameras. There's no, I personally believe that we need to give authority the respect it deserves. We need to get back to the basics, if you will. I think you guys, you get what I'm trying to say. I hope you understand what I'm saying, that we need to change. Everything needs to change, okay? These men and women are out here at the end of the day. They are here for our protection. They are trying to do their job, and it does not help that we have implanted in the younger generation, because this generation, that child has now been has this poison in his mind that authority is wrong, authority is evil, this is the bad guy, this is the one to look out for. When you see them coming, run. If you see them coming, you disrespect them, you be rude, you be negative, you be hateful, you see what I'm saying? That needs to change. We need to change what we do today. Everything that we do, as you see, as a society, no matter how small, no matter how small, will profoundly affect generations to come. And if we are going to get to that point where we can build a better community, where we can build a better world, we have to get back to the basics. Okay, we sometimes things happen, and there's that whole profoundness of that because of the actions of authority in the past. It has had an effect, okay, and it is now making it hard for decent authority to do the right thing, because now there's this negative because of something that those in the past have done, because of past generations. We now have, people with that mindset of the authority being the bad guy and the wrong one, and get out of here, and we don't need you, and who, what I'm saying. And we absolutely need authority. We need authority to keep a civilized society in check. Okay, there are other parts of the world who understand that totally and completely, and they give authority the respect it's supposed to have. They are the ones in charge. We take our cues from them. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So I just think that it's just important for all of us to recognize and realize that everything we do today is going to affect generations to come. So let's try to be a more positive influence in the world. Let's try to do right in the world. Let's try to make a difference, because it's unfortunate. It's heartbreaking. I see that in some people, and it just breaks my heart. It really does, because I'm like, wow, like, wow. And then like I said, a lot of these men and women genuinely are out here and they just want to do the right thing. I was looking at, I watch Chris Hansen and the Predator series. It's on the True Blue network, and he does the whole Predator thing, and I see the men and women who are willing to protect our children. So not everyone in authority is bad, and not everyone in authority is wrong. If you've stolen something and you are about to be handcuffed, I feel like this: if you thought enough to do wrong, then own it. When authority does come and say, okay, we got to arrest you, we got to lock you up, okay, own it. And put your hands behind your back and respect authority. Yes, sir. Okay. You got me, and let's go. All of that extra, the fighting and the screaming and the kicking and all of that, it only makes it worse. It's not doing you any service. It's making it worse. It's only adding more charges, and you know what I mean? I just feel like if you're man enough and woman enough to do wrong, then own it. When authority shows up, own it, But and I could go into that. That's a whole another thing in and of itself. But as you can see, just be mindful. Really be mindful of what you do today. The things you plant in these children today. Instead of teaching them to hate, teach them to love. Teach them to respect. Respect authority. The reason these children are out here, cursing out older men and women in society is because they were never taught that. The seed was never planted that back in the day when we were coming up, you respected authority. You respected your mother and your father, and I remember growing up in a time where even the neighbors would sit out, older women would sit out on their porch, and they would watch their children play, and they would watch you, and if you was doing wrong, they would correct you, and you say, yes, ma'am, and you would stop it. Okay, fast forward to today. If an older person said, I think about sometimes that not too long ago there was somebody who was on the train, and they was smoking weed, and I thought to myself, if I got up and I went back there and I said, listen, you need to put that out, like, you know better. I am an older person, because this person's mindset, 9 times out of 10, they weren't taught authority. Clearly they weren't, or they wouldn't go on the train in the first place smoking, right? So it's just unfortunate that even someone today could come up and say, you're wrong, and put that out, and you know better. And they could say, yes, ma'am, and I'm sorry, and put it out, or just not do it at all, because you know what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? But clearly, if they're doing that, a seed was planted in them to disrespect anybody and everybody. I don't even respect myself. Why would I respect you or the rules of society? You see what I mean? And that's unfortunate. So let's be more mindful. Everything that we do today is going to affect generations tomorrow. Okay, let's teach them to respect. When somebody when an adult says something to you, yes ma'am, no ma'am, or okay, and get back to the basics, holding the door open for someone, good morning, and things like that. It's the little things. It's the little things that make a difference. Okay, because if the generations that are coming up see us on our best behavior, us doing the right thing, us doing what's best for society and for our world, it'll just be implanted in them automatically. They won't have to think. It's in their DNA now. This is what we do. This is how we behave in this world. This is what we do in a civilized society. We respect our elders. We respect authority, and like I said, we've got cameras now. The playing field is now level. It's not like anyone could get away with anything. And as far as inventions, everything, the things that we invent, the things that we create, be mindful. Like I said, the gentleman who created the internet, did he think in a million years that his invention, which was just to be able to communicate with somebody on the other side, to send medical information on the other side of the world, would be that thing that is going to unite the world? Never in a million years. Never in a million years. Things like YouTube, I'm pretty sure when they created that and Facebook, it was just to be social, to keep up, no more texting, or not texting, but what was it? We had the pagers, no more beeping and all this other kind of stuff. Look, we could talk to each other instantly. There's no need to mail a letter to ask someone something, Now we could just, hey, can we do this? And there's that. And then they ended up being that thing that made it more social. We all see each other. We show videos. We laugh. We talk. We connect. We could talk to our relatives, our loved ones. We could tell, look at mom. We can show each other everything that's happening in real time. It's amazing if you really think about it. It's so profound. It's unbelievable what we can do today compared to what they could not do back in the day. It's amazing. And that's why, that's very true. That little snippet that he said, that we are not here for today. We are not here for this generation. We are here for future generations. And you might want to think about that. I think if you were more mindful, if you kind of let that sink in, that I'm not here for me. I'm not here for me. And we're not here for this generation. Sometimes, yes, we do things in our generation, but some things that we do are so profound. This, like I said, like with marching and protests and things like that. Those are the things that change the world in an amazing way for tomorrow. So kind of, sort of, we're things that we do today Will absolutely just be mindful that, you know, man, something I'm doing today, what we're doing today, the child I give birth to today is going to do that great thing tomorrow. You know, my child and someone else's child is going to get together and they're going to create this other child and they're going to do something amazing, you know, or they're going to invent something, or we're going to see something. Wow, we come here and we're going to see something so amazing and so profound. Some of us, you know, there's something that other people are going to do that we're going to say, oh my God, that's so fantastic. I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to be that next level. You see what I'm saying? What we do, it has a profound effect. You know, Michael Jordan's greatness, I gave that example the other day. His greatness is that thing that, you know, that is like taking, that elevated the game. You know, oh my God, I want to be that, only better. You know, I want to be that. I want to be the next Steph Curry, and I want to be the next Kate Carton. I want to be the next Sophie Cunningham, and I want to be the next Magic Johnson. I want to be. That video of those children in Uganda. They did the caption on one of their videos was like, you know, we're so thankful for Michael Jackson. You know, you see what I'm saying? Something that he did. He's no longer with us, and yet his impact, what he did, was so amazing and so, you know, incredible to the eyes of someone on the other side of the world, that they, oh my God, we love him, and they celebrate him, and they did these dances. A lot of kids, even to this day, still do dances, dance moves that Michael Jackson did. You know, that's an amazing thing. That something you do today can be so profound and so amazing that it affects generations in the future. You know, that's amazing. So yeah, that's the video. Just be mindful, you guys. You're not here for you. You are not here for this generation. You are here for the future. So be very mindful of what you do. Be mindful of the seeds you plant. You know, go into the world wanting to be the best, wanting to do the best, wanting to make a positive impact on the world. Okay? I love that. I saw that. I was like, oh, hell yeah, absolutely. You know? Okay, I'm going to leave that there, you guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, because nothing makes me happy and let you guys know you're amazing. You are important. Your presence so has the potential to affect future generations. Like, let that sink in, you know? It's amazing. It's amazing the way you raise your children, you know, you just anything. If you're a designer, your clothes, your impact will affect other generations. And I want to do this and let's do that. And it runs the gambit, you know? So really think about that. You are here for the future generations. So let's focus on doing the right thing, because we want those in the future to be affected positively. I want what we do today to positively affect the world tomorrow and the generations tomorrow, not negatively, positively. Okay? All right. I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next time on the next video. You guys have a great evening. You probably won't see this until tomorrow because it's so late. But if you did stay up and see it, you know, hey, thanks. You know, hope you guys liked it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go. I will see you guys next time on the next video. You take care. Okay. Talk to y'all later. Bye.